Rawr.
When did we all get this dumb?
Almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear warfare. I don't see any bodies, so it doesn't count.
I'm angry about taxes.
I'm the chef. I want to hear one thing. Yes, chef.
Come on, man. Use your brain.
The Why I'm Angry podcast starts now.
All right, guys. It's the Why I'm Angry podcast. We're back. We're just getting back in here. I've been gone about a month, and we'll get to why I've been gone a couple months actually now, since it has been before November or around November 22nd or so was, I think, the last podcast or so that got put out. And we'll just talk about that. But first, this is the chef. I'm back in the Freestyle Man Cave studio. Excited to be here. And, if you want to get a hold of us, it's whyimangrypodcast@gmail.com. You can check us out on whyimangry.com or Freestyle Creative Group, which is our production company. And, a lot of where my projects come out of is the Freestyle Creative Group. So if you want to check out what other projects I've got going on, check that out. You can also support us by going to the link on the comment section and or the description section, and you can for $2 a month you get to see these podcasts or listen to these podcasts ad free, and that will go to supporting our mission to make people free thinking and get the truth out and show you what, the different sides are. And so today we're going to talk a little bit more about what's going on with me, because it's kind of a long, drawn-out deal. And I've kind of gone through some things that I really haven't shared really too much with anybody other than the people who are close in my sphere of influence, or my sphere of influence, I guess, is a good thing, a good way to is say, because it's interaction. It's both ways. It's two ways: influence on me and influence on them from me. So a lot has gone on, and I'm just going to bring this in close so that, if I need this for later, it is what it is. And so back on November 22nd, I was preparing. I was preparing for a trip to Italy, for a winter of travel, getting things done. My wife has basically been told that her job is moving to Charlotte and Charlotte, North Carolina, and we live in Dayton, Ohio. And we toyed for probably months, if not a little longer, about making a move and how that would affect, us, how that would affect our families, how that would affect just about everything in our lives, how that would affect, worshiping God, how that would affect, just, our credence in life of, that family comes first, that family is very important to us, and how that, would be affected, because if we leave right now, all of our family, immediate family, is here within 2 hours of us, and beyond that, Allison has a lot of aunts and uncles that are close, and when she worked where she works, my family isn't that far. They're just a flight away, or just a 2-hour drive away and stuff like that. And so I could get I can get to my family and be there also. And so Dayton really is kind of a hub for us. We're here. The airport is easy for us to get in and out of. It's small, and with a 3-year-old, this area isn't super safe because there is a lot of trafficking and things like that. But it is safe as in the fact that we live on a quiet cul-de-sac. We're not, there isn't a giant amount that she has to worry about, as long as she holds Dad's hand, and as long as she stays within eyeshot of us. And maybe that's naivety, but it's still small town living for us that we don't have to put her on a leash or handcuff her to us, or feel like that we're lost, that she could be lost at any moment. And just that crippling anxiety or whatever that is in sometimes big city living, riding the train or the bus or whatever, and having to cling to your stuff. And the way things have gone lately with muggings and stabbings and things like that, and even one of our close friends was mugged on a train this season. And so saying all of that, we've prepared to stay here. And so we've been getting ready, the last trips, because my wife works in the travel industry. Last trips before we no longer have benefits and things. I was going on a trip to Italy, and had to have the lists of where you're going, and yes, it's on paper. And I got an app that would help us, figure that out as we were there and things. And so, I wasn't just completely on paper, but, sometimes it helps me to have multiple organizational points. And so I was doing that and keeping those things ready. And so me and Mila got in the car. We were, we were getting ready to get some things around. We were going to the store to get some snacks. We were having a Saturday afternoon. I'm not sure whether we were going to watch a game or some movies or whatever, but we were going to the store to get some snacks, and just happened to be right around 4 o'clock. The sun was going down in my eyes, and I've, never said anything different. And I looked around. I stopped at a left-hand turn, where I was turning into another road, and I looked, nothing there. And as soon as I started hitting the gas to go across the lane, we hit a car, and the car spun us around 180. I could hear and airbags deployed. We it was like a gunshot. It was loud, bang, and I closed my eyes, turned around, and opened my eyes to see Mila, and she had a little cut on her forehead. And I asked her if she was okay, and she is the most strong, courageous, just, I don't understand it, but she just said, "Yeah, Dad, I'm fine." and I could barely breathe. I'm mustering everything I could to just, say her name. And I saw that she had the cut, so I grabbed some paper towels and things that I had in the back. And by about that time, some other people had pulled up to the intersection, and I grabbed my phone and called my wife. And unfortunately, she got we were in an accident, and she says, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No." And I was saying, "We are going to have to go to the hospital." And the phone kicked us off and started asking me if I wanted to dial 911. I didn't realize she was off. I didn't realize it was doing all of that because I just had the phone sitting there, and I was trying to figure out whether my leg was still attached to my body, because I subsequently had broken my hip. And so all of this happened, and Mila was fine. She had to get 17 stitches. Everybody that was involved in helping us were great. People came to the door. Paramedic was there within a minute or two. A police officer, and got Mila out of the car, got her to the ambulance, which was there super quick, and Allison got there real fast, and because it was literally a couple miles from our house, and so she got she got Mila to Children's Hospital, and they took good care of her. And the best part is hearing the stories about her. She just never cried. And I don't know if she was in shock, and I've talked to her a few times after. And she's been more clingy and more just, trying to be with us 24/7. And so we're trying to accommodate and work with her on all of that, and rightfully so. You go through an event like that where, we were separated, and, I went to an adult hospital. I didn't get to go to children's. And so she got taken there. But she was awesome. She didn't barely cry, except for when they put on the neck brace and it dug into her, and she didn't like that. And she just a few tears there, and a few tears when they put the big needle in because they didn't numb her enough the first time when they started the stitches. So, but the fun part was to hear, or the reassuring part was to hear that, as they're doing stitches, they had her in a little restraint type thing so that her arms, and she couldn't flail really. And, she just kept giggling as they gave her a licks of popsicle, as they were putting stitches in her. And, that's why I'm just in awe of how amazing God creates his people to be resilient, to be able to get through times of struggle when they have the right perspective. And obviously she had the right perspective at that time, because, she just took it as at the moment as, this is the funny moment that she's in, getting to lick popsicle while, they're taking care of her. And it was very comforting to me. Now, I had a very different run in the hospital. For one, they found that I have a AAA aneurysm in my descending aorta, and that is the big thing right now. I'll be off another couple weeks. I'm actually going to try to record ahead of time a podcast for the week that I'm gone in the hospital, or I may do some updates from the hospital after that surgery. I'm probably actually going to, because it is a 7 centimeter aneurysm. It's the real deal. So we're going into it optimistic, because I believe that it's not my time, that God wouldn't have gotten me through everything else and let me live through the accident where I broke ribs, having an 7 centimeter aorta aneurysm, that, you know, that the miracle of getting through that and finding that is the reassurance that it's, you know, that I have more to say and more to give. And so in that, they actually found that, and they didn't find that my hip was broken. And so they said, you got ribs broken, you got an aorta thing. I said, listen, I also have a broken hip or something like that, or it was dislocated. And she says, well, let me go back and check the scans. I mean, she was just the person who came in and told me about everything was not really the right person in the ER to come and tell you that you have an aneurysm, because she was freaking out. And it's like, okay, I see you're freaking out, but at this point, at this very moment, unless you're going to rush me into surgery, I can't freak out. And I guess that's part of you know, understanding and believing in God as God, that He is sovereign over my life, and He controls what goes on. That knowing that in this very instant, I could freak out myself and break down and cry and all of that stuff, but that doesn't help anything. That doesn't get the job done. So, you know, finally someone came in and started laying out the plan. So we actually, we finally got a room a couple hours later. We kind of hung out and, you know, got a room, and then the way the care was going started then, because they couldn't decide if it was safe enough for them to work on my hip, and whether they needed to do the heart stuff before. But the heart guys, the cardiac surgeons, said that they didn't want to do anything on my heart until I was able to get up and move with my hip. Because because the surgery that they're going to do is to break open my chest and do open heart surgery. They think that I have a valve that is also an issue. That it's got two flaps instead of 3. It's bicuspid instead of tricuspid like it's supposed to be. And if that's the case, they're going to put in a brand new valve. It'll be a mechanical valve. Mechanical valves, I guess, they last forever, which is great, or at least as long as I will live. So I won't ever have to go back in for it. There's a few things I'll have to adjust on my diet and medication-wise, which is minimal compared to having to go back and, you know, if I got a pig valve or I got a replacement valve from an organ donor or something like that, that valve would wear out. And so until my last day, that valve is going to work if they have to replace it. If they don't, then all is well, and I'll probably be on the same medications I'm on and things like that. And so, there's some praying that when they get in there, they see the right valve, and all they have to do is fix the aneurysm, and that'll be great. And so, with that, the arguing just kind of went back and forth, and basically the ortho guys said, "Here's the deal: we can't tell you a percentage rate of success. So really, you'll have to decide whether you want to go through this or not." So I basically said, "Listen, if it's my time, it's my time." You're probably going to hear that a little bit here in this podcast. If it's your time, it doesn't matter if you're on a bus, if you're walking down the street, if you're laying in your bed. If it's God's appointed time for you to leave this earth, then you will leave this earth. And it wasn't. So I said, "Listen, doesn't matter where I'm at. I'm going through this. Let's get through it. Let's get the surgery done." They had that happen on Monday, so I was 2 days in the hospital with a broken hip. Now I've got a fixed hip, and I'm on the mend. So I went through that, got up, got going, got things moving, and they decided they wanted to do a heart cath to check out my heart while I was still in the hospital. And, we did that. The problem also that I had was PT, because of the restrictions that they have on me with not raising my heart rate over 110, and that they don't want me to lift more than 10 pounds, which meant that even on a walker, with my hip being non-weight bearing, that they didn't want me jumping up and down or hopping on one leg all that much. So PT and OT decided that they didn't want to work on, they didn't want to put me in jeopardy anymore than what they had. Even though that the biggest thing about getting things going after surgery is that you have to get up and get out of the bed and get moving and things like that. Even just a little bit to get your bowels moving. And that's where my problem happened, is that no one really wanted to listen to me. The doctors themselves didn't talk back and forth between each other, because that's that started even with the hip stuff, because the cardio guys said they wouldn't do anything, and then our ortho guys were saying they weren't real keen on doing anything with me having an aneurysm, but they didn't get together and say, "Listen, we'll be in the room if there was an issue." They didn't say anything about, they didn't talk to each other all that much about, the problems or what could come up. And there wasn't a ton of communication back and forth. And so even after the heart cath, we had to have a heart-to-heart with we did a patient advocacy meeting. And, I have to take my hat off to, my Aunt Marianne, or Allison's Aunt Marianne, and Allison about, they got this meeting together. And honestly, I was so out of it at the time because of coming out of the heart cath, and they kept sending me down for scans and just all the different kinds of things. And so I was working on, just me being coherent. They were advocating for me, and doctors were coming in every day and asking me how I was feeling, And honestly, my stomach just kept getting more tight and more distended. And I kept saying something to the doctor about it, and he just kept, oh yeah, it looks like it might be this, or there's still sounds and things. You're still moving, and we'll give you this or we'll give you that. And I had a couple nurses. I had some really great nurses, and I don't want to say this right off about having bad nurses, but I did have a bad nurse that didn't know what her job was and didn't help me in the least bit, and honestly didn't know how to use the equipment, and caused some major damage. And so I ended up with an ileus, which is an area of pooling liquid, bile, and it ended up also with some dead bowel. And honestly, I about died in the hospital. I was unconscious. They couldn't get me back conscious, and I was, they did a rapid, which is where they take you down to the operating room. They get everybody that's been working on you or that's part of your care team together, and they decide how they are going to do whatever it takes to get you back to life, or to get you back conscious, or whatever the problem is. And so they ended up calling a specialist to come in and to literally open up my stomach and save my life, get my bowels moving. And so to this day, I still have a colostomy. And for about 6 days, I don't have any recollection of what happened or what was going on. I think the last 2 or so, 3 days maybe, I was in and out, and I kind of remember parts of those days. They kind of had me restrained and sedated. And so other than I would wake up from time to time and move my fingers back and forth and try to do some kind of signs and wave at people and entertain the way I could. That was it. We also left that hospital because we weren't sure that we were getting responses from the doctors. The night that I went unconscious, we had asked for doctors to see me multiple times, and no one, the nurse didn't care. She had told us that she had 4 other patients and not to be a problem. And so I was having troubles because I had a tube down my nose, an NG tube, and there was a transition in my throat from that tube, and it was bothering my throat. I don't know whether that's normal or not. I've never done it, never been there, whatever. And so, just that was that. And I mean, the whole time was just the craziest time to me, because I knew that I needed to get out of there, and I needed to go somewhere else, either home or whatever. And so finally we got transferred to another hospital. And that doctor then, or another doctor then, closed me up and did the colostomy. And they said basically, and it's interesting to note that, the guy that was kind of in charge, this trauma doctor that is kind of in charge, one of those guys that just, he knows everything. He just, had this superiority, and rightfully so. If you're the doctor, you should have some semblance of knowing everything. And he came into my wife and said, I would have made a mistake. He said the day that we opened up Aaron's stomach, he goes, I didn't agree to leave it open. He said I would have closed it up, and we would have missed the dead bowel, and most likely we would have been back in having issues and having problems. And so and to me, it takes a big person to admit that, to say that you had issue, you just that you would have made a mistake, and that you wouldn't have found the issue. And so to me, I gained more respect for that person that day when I heard that. And so from that day, from the time that they put me on, pretty much, I started to get better. I got out of the ICU, obviously, and they put me in the regular care, and it just my stay though was just a mix of just, you're going to go home soon, and then there would be something that ended up keeping me longer. And so the plan was then that the stay was longer and longer, and so I ended up staying from November 22nd till the 19th of December, and I was so I was gone. So the reason we haven't podcasted is because, honestly, for a month I fought for my life, or for at least 2 weeks I fought for my life, and then the other 2 weeks I just fought to get strong enough to go home. And in that time I've lost like 50, 60 pounds. I probably gained a few pounds back since then, because I've been eating a lot of protein and macaroni and cheese and things like that, just softer foods, because I've had issues with my teeth, and I've had to get my teeth fixed so that there's no infection for the heart surgery coming up. And so that's really where I'm at, is I'm now able to walk on my hip. I've got 50% weight bearing, and next week I should have 100% weight bearing. We just had a giant snowstorm, and it's been hard for me not to be able to take Mila out and go sledding, and sled with her, or pull her on the sled, or all of that stuff. I also normally run a snowblower and get my stuff done around the house, and that was on the list to do the week that things went down, and just didn't get done. And so, I've had to rely on people, and that's honestly, it's a tough thing for me, because I'm very independent. I very much answered the question incredulously in the hospital. Well, did you need assistance at your, did you have an oxygen tank, or at home? And it's like, no, I'm a regular 40-year-old human being that ran around the house and coached U12 soccer, and I run with my 3-year-old, and I go out and smoke meats and grow a garden and do all this stuff that you have to do to maintain that kind of stuff, canned foods and things of all, So no, I'm an independent person. I deliver packages for Amazon and Walmart and stuff, and just do things. And that's yes, I know that people with broken hips and heart issues are normally older than I am, but that's where we're at. And so it's this whole ordeal has really driven home to me that any day something can happen to you that can change everything. And maybe that's the thing that we haven't, that I had never really thought about, is that everything that you do changes everything. Like just the little things that you do, if it can change things, can change your trajectory just a little. And so, and I know that I've said things before about, like the butterfly effect or the ripple effect, that we don't, when we read the Bible says, and Jesus even says, no man is guaranteed tomorrow. That we should live our lives today like tomorrow may not come, and we should live today like tomorrow is a brand new day. And if we did that, we'd worry less, because what do we got to worry about tomorrow for? Tomorrow will take care of itself. And that's what the Bible even says, is who added one extra day to their lives because they worried. And so people started, with this aneurysm, people started saying, well, you've had it for 4 or 5 years, right? Or it's taken a long time. Some of the doctors even said, oh, I'm sure you've had it. And so finally I talked to the cardiac guy and I said, what did I do to get this aneurysm? And he said, nothing. You were born. He said, this is a congenital deal, and you were born with it. It's part of your DNA. It's part of your makeup. And so I wasn't born with a 7-centimeter aneurysm, but I was born having an aneurysm. And that realization that we are all walking with something that can kill us. And at the end of the day, the reason you are no longer alive is that your heart does not work. Your heart is no longer beating. And we all have a heart. We all have that. And so we're all asked to live like tomorrow doesn't come. And so at the end of the day, just taking, just the last few weeks, just taking that extra moment to reflect on, man, that was a good day. Or, man, I messed this part of the day up, and Lord, forgive me for wasting this time or doing something that didn't glorify you. And, just living that way just gives you so much more joy and so much more clarity when adversity kind of comes at you. Yes, I still yell at Mila. And yes, I still get frustrated with Allison or Mila or the in-laws or the fact that I can't get out and clean my sidewalks off and I have to call my brother-in-law to help us out, or that my in-laws who aren't of the best health always had to come and shovel part of my sidewalk, or my nosy neighbor that I've blamed for calling the fire department on us for having a bonfire in the backyard, came and cleared part of my sidewalk so that I could get to the car. But at the same point, I realized that that's having family, that's having life, that's having a community around you, that obviously you've affected them enough to think it's important to help you out. And, without thinking about it, without going through things, a lot of times we overlook that you have been a good influence in your sphere of influence. Good enough that people come to your aid. Good enough that people have been praying for me for months to be able to recover and to come through all of this and all of that. And so just being able to take that time. I mean, we took Mila to a museum, and it was this a kind of emotional day for me, because knowing that I'm going through this and that this could be a core memory that she remembers me for, one way or another, whether I don't make it or I make it. Just trying to be more in the moment and more just part of life, and part of just the joy, the utter joy. And honestly, having ADHD, I can get real high off of just having a good time. And so I have tried to harness that to just really enjoy the time that I have to spend. Because there's a lot of times where you got to work. And this is part of that. This is one of those times where it's time for me to work, for me to put out the word, for me to do what I feel called to do. And Mila isn't here, and so I don't. It's time I've lost with Mila. And today has been a emotional day, because I've recorded some things off air that will or won't be seen for a while. And and those things are tough. And so you have to you always have to weigh the good with the bad and keep things in perspective. And so just to continue keeping this, the podcast, I think I've gone over my stuff enough. In 2 weeks I have a surgery on my heart. I'm going to have open heart surgery, and for a week I won't be at home. I'll be back in the hospital, and honestly, it's not a really great timing, because it is literally between Allison and Mila's birthdays. And if all goes well, I should be home on Mila's birthday. And hopefully that all goes well, and I can do that. And, and hopefully then we can celebrate that weekend with her birthday and have a great, great time. So, but to keep the podcast I have someone that's in the family, not real close to me. We've met, we've had time, we've hung out and things of that nature. But this is they've kind of I hate to say they've fallen off the wagon or something, but they've led into the lies. They've led into the media hype. They've drank the Kool-Aid, if you want to go that far. I hate that because it feels like a derogatory. You're just, you're gone. You can't be brought back or whatever. But this is the narrative that you've read into the narrative, and you've believed everything that you've seen, and you haven't just think for yourself. Just see what's out there and see what's going on, because even today or even this week, people have put two and two together that maybe this whole immigration thing, it's and right this second, I don't care what you believe on immigration, but they're lying to you, because the same guy that all of the left, all of the Democrats lauded and praised during Obama is the same guy that's doing the same job today. It's the same U.S. Border Patrol head, same guy as Obama had, and Obama gave him a medal. So you wanna cry and tell us that they're coming for me next, or if you're a black guy, they're coming for you next. If you're an American citizen, they're not coming for you. The FBI could be coming for you if you're an idiot and standing in front of an ICE agent, or if you're looting and burning places down. Yeah. They could be coming for you. This lady that was shot in Minnesota could have done anything else with her life that day and lived or died. Maybe it was her time. Well, I mean, obviously it was her time. So anything else she did that day may have been the end for her also. But at the same time, they're lying to you. And if you're living your life like this, this is it. This is the post that not just got me, but shows how a lied to Democrat, a lied to person who just reads into and just feels the lies lives. They posted, "You're still allowed to have good days." Why wouldn't you want to live your life having good days? Especially if you're healthy, especially if find the good in the day. Like, how contrite, how run down, how depressing. You may have to look at your life and say, maybe I have depression. If I can't find the good in a day, maybe I need to change things. Move, drive to someplace beautiful, something. If I don't allow myself to have good days. But you can still have good days, this person says. Today, I may, and after that, they said, with all of the things in life, amidst the dread and despair you might still have, a day where the scale tips slightly in your favor. Because you've read articles and analysis that made your hands shake for 30 minutes. And if you're reading this and you're the person who posted this, I'm so sorry that you have allowed politics to get in the way of having good days. Politics are policies that your government has for the people in the country. Laws being made that either affect you or don't. And 90% of the time, they don't. Especially if you're not doing them. You know, honestly, the abortion policies don't affect me. I'm not going to have an abortion. My wife isn't going to have an abortion. It's sad to me, but those policies don't affect me. On the grand scale of things, maybe they affect me in the fact that people who I love or people who I would have met because they had a kid, and that kid could have been my best friend. And in that way, it affects me. But I can't live my life thinking that and be like, I lost my best friend because... And that's how Democrats live their lives. They're coming for you. They're not coming for you. Especially if you're a person who lives in this country. Legally. Who was born here. ICE is not coming for you. Now, you do something dumb, they could be coming for you. You talk about killing the president, they could be coming for you. I just... And you know, this person talks about they got some food, they work at a shelter. You know, another coworker said to called everybody they encountered love, and it sounded completely sincere. And the sun peeked out, and meetings went as planned, and they, after dinner, they won games of rummy, and they watched a show that they loved. And so some days just mostly work. And it felt weird to call it a good day. If it feels weird, if you have less good days than bad days, then that's living in a forced depression that you've forced on yourself. Because this person isn't an immigrant, isn't worried about every second they're going to be deported. And their adopted children aren't immigrants, are immigrants, but are legally adopted into this country and aren't going to be deported. And yes, there are some people who have been deported who are probably great people, whose visa has expired, who are working hard, who are still trying to get citizenship. And legally, those people, there should be legally a way that those people can stay. But we're not fighting for that. We're fighting against people. We're fighting ICE on the street with guns. We're fighting ICE on the street with weapons. And weapons means you're fighting them with your car, You're fighting them with standing in front of them and blocking them from being able. You're shielding criminals. Like that's not the way to fight them. That's not the way to fight this issue. Fight this issue with a policy, with politics. We don't cry over politics. We go and we lobby and we tell our senators to do something. If you're a Democrat and you're not fighting your senator to actually do something, to actually vote for something, to create something, then you're part of the problem. If you're getting in the way, you're part of the problem. And this is probably how you feel. That good days, is when so much is going perilously wrong, but you can go ahead and have a good day. Please take them as they come. Bank them for later. It doesn't mean you don't care. Well, me having a great day at the museum doesn't mean I care any less about anything or anyone. Because if that's what it means, then that means you don't care about the people that aren't there, that you didn't invite. That's what they're trying to say. That's how they're trying to feel. Is that if I don't care every second of the day about the people who are being persecuted and prosecuted and whatever acuted, then it's like I didn't care about those people who I didn't invite to my daughter's birthday party. No, you lived 400 miles away. I didn't think you would come. And I didn't want you to feel obligated to send a present because she has too much. And maybe I just didn't think about you enough to care, to not to that I didn't care, but I didn't think about you at all. Maybe things don't revolve around your worry. Maybe you're just worrying for the sake of worrying. We didn't invite a bunch of people. We could have invited people. There were people that we thought about, but this was our family time. And it didn't matter. We still love you. We still care about you. But just because we don't think about you 100% of the day doesn't mean you're not important. Doesn't mean the things that we care about are obviously not as important. And to say that it's okay to have a good day, it means you're fully human and you're allowed to be in this life, and life is still worth fighting for. Well, yeah. Have a great day all the time. Make sure that your day is better than it isn't. Every day. Do something to make it a better day. And you're not going to always have great days. I understand that. But if you fight for the good, then you fight for the good. Then you're going to see good. But this is fighting for the bad. This is fighting for depression. I want to keep my depression because I want to make sure that I'm always 100% in the trenches. No, God says do everything you can do and then stand. He didn't say do everything you can do and then beat yourself up about it. Live your life. Be joyful. Be happy. The only way you give love is by having love. And that's the one thing that, like living through all of this and actually actually almost dying and living is that realizing that, yes, I have banked good days and I have banked faith, and having a well to be able to get through, because some of those days were not days that I felt like I was even going to survive and get through. And so praising God and thanking God that I have a well of faith that I can get through all of these days. That's where it is. But to live your life just feeling like you can't have a good day, and if you have a good day, then you've let someone down that doesn't know you're even fighting for them. It's silly. Live your life. Have a great day every day. And just put it all together. You know, that's what I got for you. You know, we have sponsors and things, you know, Bare Knuckle Gloves, Distill Union. We get a kickback from that, and that helps us, you know, with better cameras. We need a couple cameras, and we just lost a couple over the last month or two here. And you know, get on there and get those things on our website at whyimangry.com. We're bringing back the merch tables. We're also, you know, gonna start working on having some things on our website that we recommend, and those give us a kickback also. And just help us out however you'd like. But have a good day, and just know that we love you, and that if you don't come back to us, we didn't think another thing about it. But if you think, you know, these guys aren't bad, then help us out, support us, like, follow, share, all those good things. And, you know, have a great day.
Remember to follow, like, and share the Why I'm Angry podcast across all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast. The Why I'm Angry podcast ends now.